Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Bikini in the Brain. I'm here with the lovely Ashley Kaltwasser.
Yep, that's what they call me around here. Hi everyone. Hi beautiful viewers. How is everyone doing today? I want to give a special shout out to Adam's shoes. Your kicks are just on point today.
Yeah, you know what? It's funny. I wore these in the last one. Some guy was like, "Where did you get these? Where'd you get those shoes?"
Look at my shoes.
They're pretty good. Those.
Look at the soles.
You know what?
Yeah, these have been through some miles.
You really do wear those out. There's like no traction on the bottom of your shoes whatsoever.
I've not bought new shoes in probably like 6 years.
Really?
Yeah. I've been given like a pair of shoes, but I haven't bought any. But I keep wearing these. I don't know, because they're just hard to get dirty because they're solid black. So.
Yeah, and you got those special laces on them, which are really cool.
Oh yeah, keeps the shoes nice.
We got to show the picture. We'll put a picture of those special laces. I don't know what they are, but they're like have a bunch of little knobs in them,
yeah.
And then they can't untie. Like they don't get loose, which is really cool. Yeah, I'll get 2 pairs now this year. Now I get 2 pairs of shoes a year, and they have to be like different and special. That's the only thing I'll spend like be a little bit extra about. Like so. Anyway, enough shoe talk. Ashley, so we've had a busy weekend. Very busy. We've had 5 of the last 7 busy weekends.
Oh, yes.
So how are you doing?
How am I? Well, I'm feeling very much like beef jerky right now. Very much like beef jerky. Explain. Well, this tan is like 2 days post-show tan. And as you can see, it has this strange reddish tint, and it's super dry and kind of flaky. Ew. And my skin is cracking, and very, very much the appearance of beef jerky. And it's itchy. So I'm finally glad that my skin can take a little bit of a break.
Yeah.
Because next one's not till, 2.5 weeks. So wow, it'll come all the way off, and by the time I get my next tan, there we go.
What a long off season you're gonna have.
Wow, that's 2.5 weeks.
That's so much off season.
Crazy. What am I gonna do with myself?
I don't know. So
Denver Mile High's next, by the way, if you didn't already know.
Denver will see you. We're gonna be there. I'm gonna be there early to some capacity, and we'll probably do a posing workshop. If you're in Denver, we're planning on going to Mile High. Expect it to be at some point, maybe
Stay tuned, yes.
Thursday, maybe Wednesday, something like that, but it definitely won't be on Friday because no one ever shows up the day before the show.
And you'll make an announcement later on
Instagram and whatnot.
Just stay tuned on his Instagram, Team Elite Physique.
And posing classes are back this weekend here at CPC, and Phoebe's in town, Ashley's in town, everyone's in town.
There.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. It's going to be a good one. So come on down, guys. Saturdays, noon for bikini posing, men's physique, 11:30. And open gym 10:30. So anyway, that being said, I think it's cool. We're going to go into some cool things today. But one of the things I think we should go into is, because you're pretty much the only, no, there's a few. I wouldn't say the only. There's actually like quite a few. I guess you're the one that gets the most recognition for it, of doing, quite a few shows like back to back. And I think that when people are doing shows back to back, and this is something I tell athletes to do too, is that I say people should do shows in clusters, unless they're like Ashley, where they don't lose muscle that quickly. If you're someone who's having a really hard time building muscle, I think that you should do shows in clusters. Like, hey, you get ready for 9 months and grow and grow and grow, and then for like 3 months, you pick a few shows, maybe do the national circuit. I usually say like Universe through like North American. So you're doing Universe, you're doing USAs, maybe you're doing Masters USAs, depending on your age. And then you're doing North Americans, and then you're like, okay, I did 3 national shows, and I'm done for the year, and I'm gonna wait till next year and do it again and actually grow into it versus just keep going and going and going. Mm-hmm. And I think that even you, who's a little bit harder to build muscle, is still gonna run into that losing muscle eventually type of wall. And you want to go into talk about how you're feeling? Yeah.
So last weekend I got 2nd place at the New York Pro, which
is amazing.
I'm pretty excited about because I made some improvements, but then I also made some backtracks, or I guess you could call it. But I think overall I'm pretty happy with the package I brought. But I think noticeably I'm starting to deflate a little bit in the glutes. In the glute department, guys, it's finally happening. But I'm so happy that my body was able to hold up for that long, because it wasn't even like I was doing like 1 show a month. I was going like week to week to week to week to week to week. So with doing that, and I'm in a deficit of calories, and then also I'm not getting my normal workouts in every week because of travel, and obviously it's not like I'm training up to the day of the show, because you have to let your body kind of recover a few days before the show. So I was only getting about like half my workouts in, and doing a lot of cardio, obviously, to maintain like the my like water retention, so I don't have to deal with like any rebounding. So I think after all that, I could tell in this last show, okay, time to like get some of my fullness back because I'm losing it, especially my glutes. Because, well, you know, I think I mentioned in one of the previous episodes that my glutes like decreased. I want to say usually around 35 or a high 34, like stage ready usually. But for my show a few weeks ago, it was 34.25, and I thought that was so small. But it got worse. Yeah,
they kept going.
A few days before this last show, the New York Pro, it went down to 33.5, which I've never seen that number on my glutes ever. I'm like, oh my God, where did my glutes go? Oh my God. And I can definitely tell, like on stage, I'm like, oh, yep, lost the glutes. Yeah. So now we're like in Operation Gain Back the Booty for the freaking Denver Mile High. But it's not going to be as hard as one might think because a lot of it isn't just like, it's not like the muscle's gone forever, right? It's more of like a deflation because of the kind of like minimal carbs, minimal calories. But I'm thinking like once we get like a week or two of some good lifts, eating more calories, more carbs, we'll pump them back. Yeah,
I mean, you couldn't, that's the problem is when you go week to week, so we had 3 weeks in a row of the last one. So that when you go from week to week, and you got to understand when we fill out Ashley, you're not filling her out 100%. It's like, okay, have, 150, 120 carbs like 2 days before the show, have like 80 the day before the show, 60 before the show. It's not like you fill her 100% out because her legs will get dominant if she does. And so the one thing I've really liked about this the last couple shows is that your legs have tapered to like perfect balance now. Like your legs are perfectly balanced. Now we just bring the glutes back up and keep the legs where they're at, and we're like balanced. A
little more shoulder too, but
a little bit more. And so that's been really good for that. But you're working out Monday through Wednesday for 3 weeks in a row, and then Saturday you're not, on the show day you're not eating much at all, and then we can't fill you out 100% on the Monday because we have a show on Saturday. So it's like it's just eventually going to catch up to you. There's just no way around it. It's like 5 shows in 7 weekends. So it's so it'll come back. I think so. This week we're going to work out super, super hard.
Focus mainly on lifting.
We're going to
increase calories.
Minimize cardio. Yeah. So I think honestly we should do a we got a memeasurement, a 3D scan already.
Like a before and after.
We should do a 3D scan, like Friday or Saturday, because it's going to already be back by then, because it's just filling out. So a lot of times people freak out when they lose body fat or lose weight, and they're like, I'm getting so small. I'm like, just wait till you fill out. Like, you're going to be fine. I promise you, they're not actually 33 and a half. They're probably actually like 34. They're probably actually like 34 and a half. They're probably like, that's probably the difference of when you eat and load and have a hard workout. So it's a temporary thing, but timing it is like impossible, and if we shoved a bunch of carbs in when we realized it on Thursday, then Saturday her waistline would have paid for it. She would have been softer on the arms and whatnot. And you just don't know who you're going to be going against too. Like if you looked at that day, I would have said momentum being, it would have been like Jessica would probably have been like up in that like top 2, and she's really small, so it would have made a lot of sense, to be around there. But those shows, you just never know who's you're going to be going against, who's going to show up like what, and it's been working. The look you've been bringing has been working. So
I mean,
top 2. I don't know what the score was, but you got second place in the New York Pro. That's crazy good.
I'm like satisfied with that, and like I said, I think I made some improvements in other areas. But I mean, who's to say even if I did look my best, it doesn't necessarily mean I would have placed higher. But I'm just looking at it from the perspective of what my personal best is and what my personal best looks are. And I will say I don't think I've ever had that small of glutes. And no, that was not done intentionally. Thank you. It kind of happens. So it's just kind of like, I wanted to keep going. I really did. But it's kind of like one of those situations, like, I feel like good energy. Like, I want to keep going, but for my own sake, let's take like a few weeks to focus on weights and then right back at it for Denver Mile High, which is June 5th. So it's not like I'm actually going into a real off season. It's more of like all right, time to feed the booty again and pump it back up. Yeah. Whoop, whoop.
And then I think, is there any other shows you've announced that you're doing? Are there any other shows?
Oh, I want to do the Patriots.
Okay.
It's in Vegas. How can I not? And hopefully I'm allowed to announce this too.
It's up to you. I'm not going to say anything, so I was leaving it on you.
Okay, so apparently...
Are we allowed to?
I don't Oh, hopefully.
Because we're doing it, releasing this today.
I don't know if anybody knows that yet. Okay, I'm going to say it anyway because I never signed an NDA.
I think it's okay. It's going to come out.
Yeah. So I just got a call from the Arnold staff, and it looks like the Arnold USA is a thing.
Yeah.
In Columbus. So I plan on doing that because Ohio, my home state, very near and dear to my heart. So unless that can always change. So it's not like a written in ink kind of thing. So I don't want to say it's an official thing until it's written, but I'm definitely going to do it if it does go through, which I'm assuming it will, unless something weird happens. But
there you go. So
and I'll definitely do some more shows also, before Olympia too.
Yeah,
and of course I'm doing.
We're having fun. We're having a lot of fun traveling, doing things.
We just got to monitor the physique.
Can't turn them into raisins. Can't turn the grapes into raisins.
I can't be turning these glutes into shriveled up raisins.
We got off stage, so we got to do something about those raisins. Dehydrated grapes.
Dehydrated grapes. So, yes, we don't want the glutes shriveled up.
Yeah. So I think we've reached our limit. So we know the limit. It's 5 shows in 7 weekends, which we'll probably never do again. That's so just shows lining up like that. Just is not very common, So, but man, it's been a run. It's been a really good run. Yeah.
We were talking like we're taking this huge break or something. It's like 3 weeks. It's 2.5 weeks now. But hopefully that gives my glutes enough time. And you better believe I'm gonna be praying to the glute gods.
Yeah, we gotta pray glute gods. That I didn't pray the glute gods the last show, and I think that's what happened.
You know what? Actually, Adam. And listeners, I would like for you all to join me in a moment of prayer.
For the glute gods.
For my glutes.
One of these days, people are going to think you're serious.
You're like, what kind of cult is Adam running at talking to the glute gods? So everyone, please bow your heads with me. Adam,
you're so
please.
Dumb. I'm doing this because you get mad at me always.
Glute gods. I ask you today to plump these bad boys back up to full capacity. Please. Full capacity. 100%. I don't want to be able to fit in my pants. I want to...
This is so ridiculous.
I want it to appear as if I wanted to appear in a rap video of some sort.
Or wellness division.
Or wellness. In fact, if you don't mind sparing some of Frida's glutes, maybe even 1/4 of her glute, the upper left-hand corner of her glute.
And the bottom tie-in.
Donate it to me, please. And everything will be gravy. All gravy. Thank you. Amen.
Glute gods.
Glute gods. Thank you.
All right, so what are our topic today?
Oh, yeah.
That's fun.
Well, we're talking about doing all these shows, right? And... which kind of got me thinking because whenever I do shows, I don't know if you guys know this or not, I do get everything comped from my amazing, wonderful sponsor, High Tech. They're super supportive of me. So they pay for all my travel, my accommodation, all my show expenses, like tan if I needed it, food, Ubers, you name it. But I was adding up all my expenses and I was just kind of amazed because it's something that maybe people don't realize how much shows cost. And if you don't have a sponsor, it can really add up. But I also know from competing before I had a sponsor that I was able to save a lot of money by doing certain things. So I thought a great topic for today would be the cost of competing and how we can kind of save some money because I'm the queen of saving money. I love me a good deal. The thrill of a good deal is just so exciting to me. So we're going to kind of go through some little hacks on how to save money if you're a competitor.
Fun fact, me and Ashley both watched that show, the coupon show. What was it called?
Yeah,
I forgot.
Extreme Couponers.
Extreme Coupon Show. It was really fun to watch, to be honest. And one day we're just coming up, I was like, you should watch this show because I used to watch. She's like, I do watch that show. So,
oh,
that's crazy. If you haven't watched it, it's really fun to watch. These guys spend way too much time. The money they make based on how much time they spend, I don't think it equals even probably minimum wage, but it's just fun for them to do it. And they go and they get grocery carts full of stuff for $50 $50, $40. Like sometimes they get like negative money, which is crazy, you know? So
yeah, they get money somehow.
Yeah. So
I haven't gotten to that point yet, but it wouldn't surprise me if that's like my new hobby.
So this is the prep version of it. This will be the prep version of it.
Yeah, we're gonna save you guys some money, hopefully. Anyway.
So yeah, let's go. First one. What's the first one?
Well, first I think we should go through the things that you should expect to spend money on. Okay, so first, I don't think a lot of people, especially if they've never competed before, even like realize in the beginning what they're going to be spending money on, you know? Because there's a lot that goes into like a prep and your appearance at a show. So first, let's go through like some expenses that you can expect and how much it would cost without any savings, right?
Yeah.
So I want to say, if you wanted a starter level competition suit, quality, not just like, you know, bottom of the barrel, like a quality like angel suit or whatever, I want to say about $400 for a custom bikini or a figure suit. Around that range, of course, it'd be a little higher, a little lower depending, but expect around $400.
Yeah, and if you wanted to really save money, there's a couple ways you can do it. Sorry if I just cleared my throat in the mic. There's a couple ways you can do it. And I'm not going to throw this out for all of our girls, but just so you know, this happens all the time. So the cool thing about like our team is that we do have a pretty good sized team, and all the girls become friends on like through social media. So I can't even tell you how many times there's been like a situation where like a girl borrowed another girl's suit. That happens like all the time. So there's that. You can also rent a suit for a day. There's a few places that rent suit. I'm not sure if Angels does too or not.
I'm not sure, but you can definitely ask around.
Yeah. And that happens like all the time, especially in like our group posing classes. Like there's girls like just letting people wear their suits all the time. Might not fit you 100%, but if it's a local show and if it's pretty good, it's probably going to be okay, as long as it's close. And so that happens like all the time. So that's the cool thing about the community of it. And then there are suits too that you can get like that are, they call same day ship suits, which are like, if you're really on a budget, it's like basically they make a whole bunch of red suits, and they're like, these ones are $200 because they didn't have that many suits to make one day, so they make like 20 of them. And so we'll be like, all right, these ones, you know, whatever, we'll ship them, we'll sell them for $200, whatever. So it's like you have that option too. So look for those. Your local Facebook will have like your local NPC on Facebook. You'll have girls reselling their suits. Usually you could buy them for like 50 cents on the dollar type of thing. But yeah, so and then there's also, you know, if you want to go all out. You know, Angels make some crazy crystal radiant suits, which are like super, super sparkly. Ravish makes like a molded cup, super covered suit that's like super sparkly, you know, and those can get up there, but they're totally different.
Yeah, and I would also add to that as well. If you're very crafty and you're comfortable with doing these types of things, you can always buy like a plain suit and add your own stones, because I think the stones are what really kind of jack up the price a lot. But that's at your own discretion. I mean, if you're super crafty and you're very familiar with sewing and how all that works, go off. And I would also mention as well, assuming that you're doing multiple shows, a lot of girls think that they need a different suit for every single show. That is not the case. I've even worn my same red suit for probably like 10 shows, at least.
Yeah.
So it's like you don't need to get a new one every single time. You don't need to get a new one every single season. And, you know, going back to like renting suits or borrowing suits from teammates, there's, you know, things you can do to the suit to make it fit you better too. If it's not your exact size, you can add a little bit of a threading into it to cinch it in, and vice versa, and then just take the threading out. That's definitely a way you can do it if you're thrifty enough and feel comfortable doing so. But yeah, I mean, there's so many ways you can save there.
Yeah, I'm gonna give a tip for guys too, because we do get guy listeners. When I was competing in men's physique, one of the things, I was actually competing like you were competing. I did a lot of shows. In like back to back, I do like 5 shows. And one thing that I was doing was I would buy local like suits, like local board shorts. And then what makes me mad is that everyone had the same board shorts that I had. And I was like, dang it, dude, I spent, you know, $70 on these board shorts. These days you could spend like $100 on board shorts. And I was like, man, everyone's wearing the same board shorts on stage as me because those are the cool ones, and that's what you buy. You buy the cool ones, and everyone had the cool ones. So it's like, that sucks because that's what's on the rack. So what I started doing is I started going on eBay and buying old suits because one, no one had them. And 2, they were like $20. So I'd buy like, I would buy basically used suits,
right.
but it was because no one had them. And every time I'd show up to the show, everyone's like, "Oh, where'd you get those?" And I was like, yeah, eBay, because like no one has that style anymore because they're 3 years old, so it's kind of cool. So that's something you guys can do too, and you save money, so it works out 2 ways.
Very true, very true. And then the next expense is a minimal expense, but the shoes. I'm not sure how much they're going for these days, but I want to say around 50.
50 to like 110 if you're like all glammed out, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I would say with the shoes, first off, the all glammed out shoes, a lot of girls see the like rhinestone heel ones and they're more expensive. You do not need like rhinestone heel shoes. If you can afford it and it makes you happy, go for it. But if you're trying to save money, you can just get the clear kind. I mean, it's not, they're not looking at your heels really, or they're not looking at like if you have sparkle in your hair, that's not going to be the deciding factor. It's like one of those things that makes you happy, get it if you have the money and you're just whatever, but you don't have to. But I will say, the Shoe Fairy, now listen, the Shoe Fairy. I am not sure the price difference between Shoe Fairy and just the made in China shoes, but I will say that there's a huge quality difference. So the Shoe Fairy has notoriously the most comfortable, best fitting shoes that are high quality, and they will last you longer. Because some of those made in China shoes, first off, they have a weird sizing because it's not made like here, or it's made, in a place where sizing. It's just kind of like the cheap, so it's not really fitted for a competitor, just kind of fitted for show. But it's definitely worth your while to invest in a higher quality shoe and last longer than just like, oh, these shoes are, becoming worn out and they're uncomfortable kind of thing, you know?
I will say I've seen things happen a lot with like other shoes too, like things breaking, like buckles breaking, and it's like, what are you gonna do the day of the show when your buckle breaks? So I haven't had that issue with like a Shoe Fairy shoe, and I've been doing this a long time. So the other thing I'll say too about the shoes that girls that are getting them all blinged out. Now I won't say this is consistent judge feedback, but I have heard it a couple times where they said the judges preferred, and these are like upper level judges, where they preferred not having fully blinged out shoes. Like if they're gonna have a little, they're like, just get a tiny bit if you're gonna have a little, because too much can be distracting too. Which I still think, I'm like, how are they even saying it? But that's just what I've heard a couple times. So err on the side of less, especially if you're wanting to save money and you feel like you're missing out, you're really not missing out. So
very true. So let's talk about the hotel expenses. Now, hotels, as you know, they can vary anywhere from, I want to say, $80 to $300. And lately, I've been staying at some very expensive host hotels. Like we're talking like $300 a night. But obviously, as I mentioned before, I'm not necessarily paying for it because my awesome sponsor takes care of it. But back in the day, before I had a sponsor, and I was poor, I would share a hotel room with literally 5 girls. And it was actually a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And we helped each other get ready. And it was kind of like an experience I wouldn't change for the world. I don't know how often that happens these days. I know that you'll hear some girls asking around like, hey, do you know anybody that's going to this show? So you can room with them. You get a double queen bed is usually the same price as a king bed room. So like if you are going to a show and you know somebody else, maybe you can ask around, see if they're doing that show too.
Yeah.
And another thing you can do to save money on this is if the host hotel is expensive, but you want to get there early because maybe water retention issues or just getting used to the time zone, get a cheap hotel like the night you get there, but the night before the show, check into the host. I would always suggest staying at the host hotel because you don't ever want to miss like your show because of a weird reason.
Yeah.
So I always suggest the host hotel and maybe just rooming with somebody.
Yeah, you know what, to be honest, I get a lot of hotel experience because I'm getting the same. I'm at the same shows. And as a coach, just so you guys know, the costs are the same. So sometimes you'll get people that are like, they'll do like a 16-week prep, which is like, it could be like a 16-week prep with us could be like around $1,000, right? And so they'll be like, oh, my coach going to go to the show too? And I'm like, it costs us like $1,200 to go to the show. Like your prep's $1,000. Like, then no, we're not going to go to that show. Like, it doesn't make any sense. We'll spend money to go to the show. So we go to certain shows. We're not going to go to every show. We go to certain shows throughout the year just because it's not cost effective. It doesn't make any sense as a coach. But one thing I'll say is like when you go to different hotels, like if you're trying to save money and not go to the host hotel, usually you end up spending the same or more by not going to host hotel because you're Ubering there all the time too. So that's what. So I'm always like trying to, if I can scoot to you, I'll like scoot just because I like scooting to you. But I'm usually little late. Ashley's a better planner than I am. I'm like, actually, it's funny. It freaked her out because like even on Friday, I flew in on Friday and I didn't have a hotel until Friday like morning. She's like, "Where are you staying?" I was like, "I don't know. I'll look." I go with this app called Hotels Tonight, which is a good source because if you fly in, it's risky. And remember, I don't have the risk that Ashley does. I could sleep on the street and be fine the next day, but Ashley's got to do all this stuff. So I'm always like, I'll find something. So I fly in and then I look on Hotels Tonight, and then on Hotels Tonight app, they have like discounted hotels for rooms they didn't sell that night. And usually that's how I find my hotel. Yeah, you could usually get them like 50% off if it's like one night only. So you could usually get them pretty good. So Hotels Tonight app, I probably wouldn't recommend that as a competitor, but it's worked out for me every single place I go. And I go to a lot of places. Sure. So,
and I would also add too, we're talking to people that maybe they're not even that serious about competing yet. So even I would say, you don't even have to fly because I'm sure there's local shows to you that you can drive. And if you drive, you can carpool. I used to do that too.
Yeah.
I used to carpool with like 3 girls. We would drive all together, us Ohio girls, another girl came from Illinois. It was a fun time. But that definitely saves a lot of money as well. And you can it's nice to kind of drive sometimes because you can go on your own time and not really worry about like packing that strategically because it doesn't matter because you're just putting it in a car. But that's another, thing to take into consideration.
Yeah, one of our we've done it a couple times where we'll rent an Airbnb with like the team too. Mm-hmm. So we're gonna do that. We're probably gonna do that at a couple of national shows coming up, where you get like an Airbnb and then everyone just stays there. We did one in Colombia last year, and we won. We got one pro card in Colombia. We got 1 or 2. I don't remember. We got at least 1. And everyone like stayed at the house in Colombia, and then they ended up staying like an extra like 3 days, and everyone just going around Colombia, and it was like a good time. And it ended up being like this house was like lavish, and it ended up being like, it ended up being like $150 for everyone for like a week. So like 1 week, $150 like in Colombia and Medellin. So it was pretty cool. They did that, and then we did one in Vegas before. We rented like an Airbnb with like the whole team, and so we'll probably do those a few times a year, 2-3 times a year, and it's like a good experience, and it's cheap and it's fun.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
So there are a few costs, however, that is unavoidable, and I would say those would be like the entry fee and the NPC card. Do you know these days how much entry fees usually are and NPC cards usually are?
Both about $120.
$120. So I would say the only suggestion I would give with that is like it's good for the whole year, right? So maybe plan it just like, more of like a year-to-year situation rather than getting your NPC card at the end of the year and competing in one show and then having to buy that NPC card again for 2022.
Yeah.
I would say just get it early on the game, start competing early.
Yeah.
If you can.
Yeah, it is, and just so you guys know, it is a calendar year. So it's not like you could buy it in a November show and then use it till the next November. It's November show, expires as soon as January 1st hits. So just so you guys know. So I've had a couple people who did like shows in like mid-December and then wanted to compete in January again. And they're like, oh, if I would have known that, I would have just started in January. Yeah. And I'm like, well, if that's a factor for you, then just know that if you do a show in December and you do a show in January, that's 2 separate NPC cards for 2 different years. So if that is a factor for you and you're trying to save money, that's one you could save on. So.
Yep, absolutely. Now there's a few things that I know you can definitely save money on. And this is some of the girlier things. Hair, makeup, and nails. Yes. All right, so first off, hair, if you are not experienced with hair, then, obviously hire someone. But most girls can style their hair because it shouldn't be that much of a difference between stage hair and everyday hair as long as you have the right type of hair. So what do I mean by that? If you need hair extensions to look like more of like the look you're going for, right? You can buy hair extensions once and use them for a long, long time. You can even dye your hair extensions if you happen to dye your hair. But I feel like with hair extensions, it gives you like a big, how do I say this? It makes it easier for you when you are styling. Let's say you're not the best with styling your hair. You get hair extensions, it makes it a lot easier because you got, even if you just straighten it, I'm sure everyone knows how to at least straighten their hair, right? Straighten it. And if you want it to look more put together, add extensions. Extensions themselves can oftentimes cost just as much as one hairstyling for a show, right? So if it's $150 to get your hairstyle at a show, but it's like $200 for the hair extensions you want, I mean, you can use the hair extensions over and over and over.
Yeah.
But a hairstylist, you can't use it over and over and over. I think the hair is one thing that if you don't have the money to, it's definitely something you don't necessarily need unless you're horrific at styling your hair. Just saying.
Yeah, I think that it's the more, and honestly, the more that you can do your own thing, the easier the day is too.
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of girls doing their own makeup. A huge fan, because here's the problem with the whole makeup thing.
Well, this is hair first, but then we're moving on to makeup now.
Are we? Okay. Well, I don't think there's anything else for hair. I think you got it covered.
Okay. I just want to make sure you weren't talking about hair.
No, I think we got hair covered. And if we do anything about like hairstyle, so we'll go into hairstyling though. It doesn't need to be crazy like you said.
Yeah.
You know, if you're really uncomfortable and you want to do curls and you can't, you're really not comfortable doing curls, you want to save money, straight is totally fine. There's no judge who's like, oh, I wish you would have done your hair curly versus straight. Like it usually works for people. Try to get just a little bit of volume in your hair.
Yeah, do a little teasing.
Yeah, you don't want just straight like hair like tight to your head. You want to get a little bit of volume to it. And that's it. Your hair is good. Make sure it doesn't go all the way down your glutes. I've had it happen just like a couple times where girls were like going to curl their hair, and so they had their hair long enough where it was like touching the top of their glutes, and then something happened where they didn't curl their hair, and then it ended up being straight and it was touching their glutes. So just be aware of that. Like you don't want your hair to be that long where it's like hiding your glutes. So okay, moving on to what we say, makeup. Okay, yeah, makeup. So a couple things with makeup. All right, as a coach, makeup really does drive a coach crazy, and it doesn't drive us crazy because people mess it up or anything. It's messed up once in a while. It's pretty rare where it's messed up though. I would say I run into it like a couple times a season with and we're talking with a good amount of like people doing their makeup. You know, it's pretty rare someone makes a mistake, and usually when someone gets a mistake is they'll be wearing like a purple suit and then they do a purple eye and they just do way too much purple and it's like super distracting and it looks like kind of clownish, you know. You don't need to match your suit with your makeup. It doesn't have any benefit if you match your suit with your makeup. Most of the pros are just doing like a shadowy eye. That's not even really, maybe a tiny bit of color. But with the makeup thing, the reason it drives coaches crazy is that these makeup artists, they'll book appointments like at 3 a.m. It's crazy. They'll be like, they'll start off as close to the show as they can. So they're like their first appointment, if you're getting on stage, like let's say you're getting on stage at 10, their first appointment will be like 8 o'clock. So they'll go 8 to 9 and then they'll let you go on stage, you know, and then that's it. But then the second appointment is from 7 to 8. And the third appointment is 6 to 7, 5 to 6, 4 to 5, 3 to 4, right? And they're like, well, sorry, you're my 5th appointment. You're from 3 to 4 a.m. in the morning. And it's like, you don't want to be, it's hard to like get someone right if they're up for 8 hours. Like if you're getting on stage at noon and your appointment's at 3 a.m., now you're up for 9 hours, you know? It's a hard thing to like do because it's not your normal day. You're tired. We want you rested, looking good on stage. We don't want you like being nervous about getting ready for the show the next day. So you're already having a hard time sleeping. And then you got to wake up at 2 a.m. to go to your makeup appointment. So you only slept 3 hours. And now you look tired on stage all because of this makeup appointment, which wasn't even the biggest factor of your body winning the show. So for me, I'm like, hey, if you could do your own makeup and you can master that and you can practice in the off season and you can get it down, do that. Even if it's maybe not as good as a professional makeup, because your timing of what you're gonna save and the stress of what you're gonna save is so much like more worth it than the actual appointment at 3 a.m. And makeup artists are catching on to this. I'll give a shout out to Lindsay Ambrosia, who is probably like the best makeup artist I've ever worked with. She's super, super good. Mm-hmm. I've used her for 10 years in Denver. But she's now doing online tutorial classes for people to do their own makeup.
See, now that is smart. So I highly suggest you looking into that, you competitors out there. That is such a smart idea.
Yeah, because
such a smart idea.
Because I ran into that issue with her too, with this too. So I'm actually going to give her a shout. And I'm not getting paid by her or anything. That's not a paid endorsement.
Maybe you can put a link or something.
Yeah, and it's just Lindsay Makeup Madame. On Instagram, you can hit her up. But yeah, online tutorial classes on how to do your makeup for you. So It's like a one-on-one like makeup session, which is pretty cool.
That is so smart. So another thing to add on to that is not only getting up early, but sometimes when girls get their makeup done, if one girl is late, that makes everyone else late.
Yeah.
You know, or if it takes more time to do a girl's makeup, it kind of sets off everyone else's schedule. So for me personally, I don't like to deal with that stress. I do it myself. but I've been practicing a long time. So I will say this though, if you're not good at makeup, that is one thing, maybe at least once get it done or get Lindsay's
lessons.
I would rather get Lindsay's lessons, but I find that between the two, makeup or hair, if you had to choose one, choose makeup.
For sure.
Because it's easier to mess up than hair. And even just like matching the face to the body. And for those of you out there, I think one of the most common makeup questions I get is what foundation I use. I use MAC NW45. It's a Studio Tech formula. Studio Tech NW45. I use that like on the outline of my face, and on the inside I use like a lighter concealer, a little bit lighter, to brighten the inside of my face and under my eyes. But I do realize that like some girls just aren't experienced with makeup. You know, maybe they're one of those girls that never wears makeup on in real life. Unlike me, I'm like cake facing it like 5 out of 7 days a week. I be watching those YouTube tutorials like every day. So I love makeup. I have a vast collection of makeup. It's fun for me. I don't know if you guys ever noticed, I like doing different things, different colors and sparkles, all that. So for me, I like doing my makeup, and it's like relaxing for me before show day, or before I go on show day, I should say. It's just relaxing to sit down and do my makeup and think about like how the day's gonna go. So yeah. Makeup usually about $150, I would say. Hair is usually about $150. But yeah, I like the class idea, the tutorials, the getting lessons. I think that's way more beneficial, and it's like you're better prepared, because even if you did get your makeup done from a makeup artist in the show, I've seen many times with makeup artists, the athlete doesn't even like the makeup.
Yeah, happens all the time.
And they have to wipe it off.
Yeah.
Start all over and do it themselves. So just keep that in mind. I love Lindsay's little idea she has. That is brilliant.
Yeah. And then one other thing on the makeup, if you, let's say all your friends are using like one makeup artist, but then the last appointment is at 3 a.m., go to a different makeup artist that day. You know, you like go to one that's closer to your time of the show.
Right.
So you don't have to like, those hours of sleep that you get are critical for you looking the certain way that you want to look on stage that day. You do not want to be up at 3 a.m., 4 a.m., because you got to understand, like, you're already not going to sleep the day before the show because you're nervous about the show. Mm-hmm. So then you're extra not going to sleep because then you got to wake up at 4 a.m. and it's just, it does play havoc on your body.
Yeah,
so.
Absolutely. I totally agree. And also just keep in mind as well, even if you are good at makeup, your everyday makeup, it's totally different from stage makeup. So yeah, look into those classes, even YouTube tutorials. We did a YouTube tutorial once. Ashley little brothers me so hard sometimes. She'll just play with me like a little brother. Like, let me do your hair. Let me put on this wig. Put your makeup. Play dress up.
I'll never live that wig one down. The wig one where we were in some boring state. It was nothing to do there. It was like, was it Sioux Falls? It was Sioux Falls.
South Dakota.
And she had a it was extensions, but it was like crown extensions, you call them, or what do you call them?
Yeah, it was a different. Actually, that one was like a full wig one, but I just brought that for, I don't even know why. I like.
You didn't wear it, yeah.
No, I didn't wear it. You wore it. It looked better on you.
She put it on me, and then we like took one picture, and then this ended up turning into like we were so bored. We wore it all around town, and then we're like playing this fake persona.
Dude,
it was like so we're trying to be as extra as we could, and like
the Instagram model.
Fabrizio's Instagram model. That was a fun day though. That was fun.
I posted that for his birthday last week, so you can check it out. Even Angels posted it.
That's so fun. I saw that.
Angels posted it. I'm like, and I'm actually adding that into my upcoming YouTube video as well. That video will never die.
Unfortunately,
I'm so proud of that video. It's like a cinematic magic. I feel like I'm really proud of myself. Like, I killed that edit.
That was fun. That was what we were so bored. That's so funny. We'll just have to do something fun like that again one day.
Funny.
That was fun. So we have this other game. We should tell people we have this other game that we do. We play a lot of stupid games when we're like traveling. One of them is in Uber cars. We'll have to say. Because this is what happens in Uber driver. They'll be like, oh, what are you in town for? And if we say, oh, Ashley's doing a fitness competition, then it turns into this whole thing. And they're like, oh, what should I do for my diet? And and it's like, gosh, we don't want to like, it's cool, we appreciate it, but like, it's just
trying to focus on the show.
Everyone, they're like, oh, what's that about? No. So we come up with things that'll be like, oh, she's
professional mini golfer.
She's a professional mini golfer, and we have to like keep a straight face, and then we have to like keep going with it. And then one time we were in that same, it was the same, I think it was the same one. We were on fire that week where we were like, we're here. we're here in this town because we're on vacation. And the guy was like, oh, you're on vacation here? That's strange. Like, why would you, like, are you sure you want to be here? Like the guy was, and then Ashley's like, oh yeah, I heard you have really good cheese, really good milk, like factories, corn. Oh, corn, it was corn. And so we had to like keep going without laughing. And like, we had to like, it's so funny. At least the things that come up are so funny. I tried to do it with Phoebe the other day, and I said that and she's so tall, you know. And I was like, oh yeah, we're here for her to qualify for the U.S. gymnastics team.
They're short.
I know, that's why I said it, because it was so like ridiculous.
Yeah.
And so she had to like, I put her on the spot, and she was like having to like roll with it. It was so funny.
Oh my goodness.
So,
yeah, good times.
The adventures.
Got to carb up for those mini golf tournaments.
Yeah.
Pressure's on.
What's funny is when you say you're a professional mini golf player,
with this jacked arms.
Yeah, they have to, like, no one's heard of it, so they have to ask questions about it, so then she has to, like, keep going with it. They'll be like, wait, how do they, because you naturally are inquisitive because you've never heard of that before. Yeah. And so it's really a funny scenario that the questions that come out. And
I also use that too when people, like, see, like, my physique or something, like, if I'm wearing just sports, but like, wow, like, what sports do you play, or what do you do for workout? And I'll just be like, oh, I just mini golf on the weekends sometimes. Sit. That's how I got these abs.
Yeah, but it saves the questions. It saves the questions that come with the follow-up questions. Oh, because usually how it goes when you say like you're a bodybuilder or something, what's funny is that you could be like so jacked, and I've seen it, and I'm not saying I'm so jacked, but like even when I was like my most jacked, and I was like shredded and in great shape, there'd be some old guy who would come up to you who's like, 65, 70 years old, and he'd be like, oh, yeah, I used to look like that. He's like, what do you do for your work? What do you do for your workouts? And I'm like, and it just starts this conversation. I used to look like that when I was in high school. I used to do, and in college I used to do. I'm like, dude, you never looked like this.
Yeah,
like you never.
What's your exercise? Oh, I did some landscaping. Like,
yeah. So okay. It's better to just like, because what's going to happen is, what do you think for this? What do you want to do for this cardio and this? And it starts a conversation with someone, which I'm open to conversations and helping people that are going to use it. But the people who are asking you like in Ubers and whatnot, and they're just super inquisitive, they're just going to go about their day like normal. They're not going to go and follow that workout regimen. So it's like different when like someone in real life, like at a gym or something, asks you because
totally. Because sometimes it's like when you just got off a flight, you don't want to feel like you're being interviewed, right? You're just like, I just want to like check in the hotel, not like go through like an interview for a job or something.
Create a free workout program for you.
So yeah, it's a lot of fun. We have fun, obviously, on the road. So
that's why we do it. It's a fun time. Anyway, next one.
Back to it. So nails, I mean, they're not necessarily the most important thing when it comes to competing, but you'll see 99.99% of girls have their nails done. So we all know that getting like acrylics like these, they can be very expensive sometimes. We're talking like $75, $85, depending on how long, how sparkly you want them. But let me tell you something, press-on nails work just as good, okay? And what I found is Amazon has great prices for fake nails. So what I'll do is I will buy like 1,000 coffin-shaped nails, and it's like $7.99, and just use my own nail polish and my own nail glue, right? And that can last me years. Like, who's ever going to use 1,000 nails?
Yeah.
No one. But, even if it stays on for 2 days, that's all you need. Just do them the night before athlete check-in, and they're good for stage. Obviously, bring glue and extra nails with you in case one pops off. But I've been doing that all year up until these last 2 shows. I just had like the Amazon glue-on nails that I just painted myself. It's a lot of fun. It's actually kind of cool. I can change them more often.
Sometimes you're so girly. It's funny.
Yeah,
And on another note, actually, or I guess it's the same note. I think all the people who watch these things would love for you one day to come out with your own makeup line. Actually, you're really good at makeup, though.
And
it's fun and bright. I know, but I think you should do it. You're underselling yourself.
That might be crossing over a little too much.
You think?
Into the beauty world instead of fitness. Who knows?
Well, I've had people tell me 2 things. One, you should come up with your own clothing line and do all bright colors like you do, like your bright colors you're always wearing, or into your makeup line.
That's very flattering. Thanks, guys. Woo, blush. Okay, so let's talk about like the actual cost of like coaching and preps.
Yeah.
Now, I thought it was very smart that you mentioned earlier, hey, if you're going to do a prep for 16 weeks, go on a run. And I feel like that's also an opportunity to save money if you're running short on cash, right?
Yeah.
So you prep with your coach for 16 weeks and you do a few shows within that time. That way you don't have to kind of get more and more contest prep sessions, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But every coaching program is set up differently, obviously.
Yeah.
Some won't do it necessarily like that, but I know a lot do. One thing I wouldn't suggest though is, especially if you've never done it before, don't coach yourself. That is one thing. Don't short on that.
Yeah, it's unfortunate it is unfortunate that's the way it is, to be honest. But it's the same guys, like, and it's always the same guys, that are like doing well. It's always the same people like doing well. It's good because they put out a consistent product, they put out a consistent program. They're the athletes, they have the eye for it. They're better at it than you're going to be just because they do so many reps of it. Like now I can look at someone and be like, just see it right away. Which actually, what problem is I do a lot of times these days is actually like fix other people's programs too, which really sucks. I had a girl message me actually, and she'll know. I'm not gonna say who she is, but she'll know who she is. She sent me she's like, "What do you think? Do you think I'm getting like too lean?" And this girl was like, just like emaciated lean, like scary lean. And I was like, "Why are you so lean? Like, what are you doing?" She's like, "I don't know." She's like, "I'm eating though. I'm eating 2,500 calories." And I was like, "It doesn't matter how many calories you're eating. Calories are relative to what you look like. It does. Right. You could be." I can give Ashley 2,500 calories and she could gain a pound a week. Mm-hmm. I can give you 2,500 calories and you can get to the point where you look kind of anorexic, right. And that was the scenario. And I was like, you need to be eating, it doesn't matter if you're eating 2,500, just because it seems like a lot on paper doesn't mean that it's a lot to you. It's totally different to the person. So it's every week your check-in will change, your nutrition could change every week based on how you check in and how you respond to that prior week. And the coach should have the eye for it. So should have the eye, so make sure you're using someone who's good. And I'm not like using that as like a promote my services thing. There's a lot of good coaches out there, but make sure that they have, the resume that you would expect them to have for someone who's going to take control of your health and your body. But but the coaching costs. So I like to do a prep for like no less than 16 weeks. I really don't want to run into a prep that's less than 16 weeks.
Right.
I'll get people that'll reach out to me like 10 weeks out from a show, and like there'll be very rare scenarios where I'll take them on. It's like, and then I'm like, you better look like you're 10 weeks out, and if you better be eating enough where we can take over the prep at this point, right. And not doing crazy cardio where we can take over the prep at this point. So the coaching costs can go anywhere between, I would say the average cost of coaching is about $300 a month, given all of like the higher level coaches, depending on what you do. Now, like on ours, for example, like if you got like a year's time, ends up being less than if you got 16 weeks time. Just because the initial program design is where most of the time is spent. But yeah, I would say it's like an average of like $300 a month, give or take. Right. You could find some that are a little bit less. You can find some that are a little bit more. I've seen some as high as like $1,000 a month. So it just depends on the who you're with and what you're getting. Absolutely. So yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And then along the lines of posing lessons, I think maybe the only way to save money with that is I would suggest already come prepared whenever you're going to. Like, let's say you are going to connect with a posing coach, right? It's smart to kind of already have a little bit of knowledge to begin with, so you're not starting literally from scratch, because the more you start from scratch, the more sessions you'll have to buy, right? So let's say your posing's obviously, when you do your posing yourself, it's not going to be perfect. But if you watched a few YouTube videos and you know the basics at least, that will kind of perhaps save you some money in the future to kind of not have to start from scratch. Because every session, if we're starting literally never even tried to pose before versus somebody that isn't, obviously isn't perfect with their posing, but at least they know what to do in a sense, that might get you a few less posing sessions needed, rather than the girl that's literally clueless because she's never even tried to stand there. Because YouTube can be a very great source of information, right, when it comes to posing, all that, but it can only get you so far. You'll definitely need somebody to double check you and to have that second set of eyes to see what you can do better or how to adjust your body if necessary.
There you go. And then there's also things like the posing clinics that you can go to. So
yes, like our free posing clinic.
Yeah, those are, and I've had girls go to our posing class. Like I've had a few of them come like 12 weeks, 16 weeks out from their show and come every single week, and that's their only posing they do. And the cool thing about the posing group classes, And they have them in a lot of different places, but the posing group classes is that you're basically on stage like every Saturday. And so when you get on stage next to people, it's not new. It's not nerves. It's like practicing for being on stage. That's the one thing I really do like about the group posing classes is that you get reps in with people next to you, so you know how to like position yourself a little better. It's like playing a game, it's like playing like a sport where you actually get to play the game kind of. It's like practicing the game. One-on-ones, you'll kind of know what to expect because they're telling you what to expect, but feeling it's a little bit differently. And they have them, I want to say at most places, most cities have a posing workshop like that's like ongoing like all the time. Ours runs like 9 months out of the year, and it's most Saturdays, unless like something's going on here where we're traveling. I would say like 3 out of 4 weekends a month we have ours. So just look on Instagram. The only hard thing about it is, just so you guys know who are messaging me, I get a lot of messages. Like, to be honest, I get a lot of messages. So listen closely, because I would prefer not to answer this message again. But I get messages like, people will be like, hey, I'm coming, I'm gonna plan on being in Vegas on July 14th. Is your posing class gonna be there? And then I'm like, hey, and then I got to explain, I don't know if the posing class is going to be there July 14th. Someone could be doing a show. I don't know. Some pro can be doing a show. There might be a show locally. There might be something going on. Like, I won't know until about 2 weeks before every weekend if we're going to have that class. So just pay attention on teamelitephysique.com. I'm sorry, Team Elite Physique on Instagram. I'll always post the week before the posing class if we're going to have one. I wish I could plan it that far out in advance, but the problem is I don't really make my own schedule when it comes to that stuff. If Ashley jumps into a show, I'm going to try to be there. If, Frida, Phoebe, or someone like that jumps into a show, I'm going to try to be there. If a show pops up where we have like, 10 athletes in it, I would like to be there if I could, if it's in a different state. So it's just hard to plan that far in advance. So I am sorry about that, because I wish I could, but so we do have them. They're here. This Saturday they're having one. It's free. I don't charge for using the gym, for coming to the posing class. In Denver, they have arm breasts. They have them on Saturdays as well. That's like $15 to use, but you got to use the gym the whole day. And actually, Dylan just texted me right now, and that he says that we can use his posing room to do a workshop. So thank you, Dylan Armbrest. He's a judge. He's got an awesome bodybuilder gym in Denver. One of the better. It's definitely called
that gym.
Yeah, they call it the Mile High Mecca. It definitely is. They have all these like Mecca gyms.
Great Lake Day gym.
Yeah,
it has its own like section, like room.
That whole story of how that gym even started is pretty crazy, because he bought the gym like from another gym that was like going out of business. And Dylan worked out there, and he was like, I just wanted a gym for me and my friends that like we worked out here, so I just bought it just to keep it going. And then it turned into this whole thing. So it's so cool to like the story of it too, And then that back room was where Wadi, that was where he did like he was doing like MMA training and stuff back there, and then they ended up turning it into like a leg room. And so it's like the whole thing is just a cool culture. So if you're ever in Denver, check it out. We are going to be doing a posing seminar. It looks like, he just text me. It looks like we're going to be doing it there. It just matters of, he's going to check, he just texted me and said he's going to check into the Jeffco guidelines of how many people we can have there at that point. So that'll be the only factor. So.
Well, I'm excited. I want to be there.
Yeah,
hey.
That'd be cool.
I'm so excited for the Mile High. Woo.
It'll be a good one. Yeah.
Good memories. So yeah, I mean, even I know that a lot of the judges too have their own seminars. Just stay, I guess, stay looking on like some of the NPC pages or in the local NPCs, because you'll find that like maybe your city has like a big judge coming into town, and that's like honestly the best you can get. So yeah, just be very aware. And then I would also like to touch a little bit on the tan. So listen, guys, tan is something that can literally ruin your whole
time
package. Okay, if you're too light, if you're muddy, if you're too dark, oh my goodness, it can really throw off your physique. So tanning will usually be about $150, and that's usually for 2 coats. Here's where you can save money though. A lot of these tan companies will have the option, you can buy 1 coat, 2 coats, 3 coats. If you're trying to save money, what you can do is do the first coat yourself. It's the last coat, the show day coat, that is really important.
Yeah.
Okay? Because that one, at least like if you have your own base coat on, they can kind of, and they see you're not dark enough, they're not going to let you go out there looking like poo-poo. They're going to even you out, make sure everything's even. If you need a little touch-up, they're going to do that. But at least buy the last top coat, at least. And then I would also go on to say, if you are a darker skin athlete, you might be able to get away with doing it yourself if you have experience with it. But for somebody like light like me, I would never do my own tan. I would never, ever do my own tan.
So the only thing, so with the tan, okay, here's the difference. I guess this is a difference too of like when I started bodybuilding was there wasn't a tanning company back there with like spray tans. It was all Pro Tan. We all used this Pro Tan. And so, but you gotta remember I started like, I was 18 when I competed, like I was a teenager competing, and I was like, plus I probably wouldn't have been able to afford it really. And there wasn't that much social media too, so maybe they even did have it, I didn't even know back there. But everyone just used Pro Tan. That's what we'd use. Actually, we used Dream Tan, which is, that stuff is a nightmare. Now, I don't think anyone really uses that now, but it's like almost like it like wipes off. It doesn't soak in your skin. It's like on your skin. It's so
messy.
It's really messy. You like touch anything and it wipes off on the wall. You hit a friend and it wipes off on them. It's like, that stuff is the worst. I still see some people using it like overseas at like international competition. That's where people look like bronze gold.
Yeah.
It's like
looks cool, but
yeah, it's such a mess. It's like oil based and just sits on top of your skin. So I've used Pro Tan pretty much just because that's what I was used to. I used it pretty much in every show I've ever done. And I pretty much did it myself, and it took like 2 to 3 coats for me to get dark. But I am a tan guy. So I do like 2 coats usually would do it for Pro Tan, and then it saved me money when I was like trying to save money. And then when I wasn't worried as much about money, I would always do the top coat.
Yes.
The spray, the show day tan, just so I could look the same color as everyone.
That's important because here's the thing. When you do your tan yourself, even if it's even, you don't know if you're way lighter than everyone or way darker than everyone. Yeah. And you don't want to stand out in that sense, right? You want to stand out as an athlete, not because, whoa, his tan was way darker than everyone else's or way too light, because that can definitely throw off the judging and it's just not a good thing. So yes, the top coat, the show day coat, definitely the most important. At least get that. And at least they'll make sure that you're consistent with the other athletes.
Yeah, and that ends
even you out.
And that's usually like $50, $60, something like that. It's usually not that bad. So that, and then they oil you and all that too. So it makes it really worth it. So yeah.
Absolutely. Cool. Well, the only other like money saving things I would say is even kind of going back to our previous podcast about excuses and prep food is so expensive. We kind of went into it already. It's really not if you buy it in bulk, right? It really isn't. You got to buy the food in bulk. Go to Costco, Sam's Club. But my personal favorite thing to do is shop the clearance section in the produce. The food that's about to go bad like tomorrow, you buy that food, you make it that day, and then freeze the rest. You're going to save a lot of money in that way. And that also goes for meats too, or any other like prep food item. You don't really need to do with rice though, because rice is already dirt cheap, but you know. Yeah.
One of the things I found with people that like use that we kind of went into the excuse I think on it is that more times than not people save money when they're using prep food than their regular day because they're not doing all the going out to eat and all that. And it's usually a lot cheaper just to buy clean foods and cook them in small amounts, you know. So,
absolutely.
So yeah, I guess is that it?
I would just like to end on this note. This sport is not what you would call a cheap sport, right? And to be honest, there was a period of time, period of time that before I started making money off this sport, I was losing money. So just keep that in mind. Don't come into this sport thinking that it's like going to pay off right away.
Yeah.
Sometimes it takes a long time. But I will say this. You will learn so much about your body and your health through this sport. And to me, my health is priceless. So even if you do have to, you know, make some sacrifices with your budget and pay for prep or whatever, it's worth it because you're going to learn so many amazing things about yourself that you didn't know. And you can use that for the rest of your life, how to eat healthy. Because I'm sure a lot of people before they got into the sport were clueless about what is it to eat healthy? What is healthy food? A lot of people think Nutri-Grain bars are healthy, you know? Yeah. So it really is not only to transform your body, but to transform your way of thinking and to learn so much about yourself.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go past that on another level of it too, with prep. So I like prep for many factors. So one, before I go into that, I want to go into the investment of the prep for the investment of the rest of your life. So it's kind of like college, you know? Like, yeah, it's really expensive, but you're going to use it for the rest of your life. It's going to put you in a better position for the rest of your life. And so you're paying a lot up front, and then later on down the road, you're going to get your dividends on it, right? You're going to get paid off. Same thing with prep. You know, your first couple years, you might just lose money. You might lose a few $1,000. We're not talking tons of money though, but a few $1,000, like over the course of competing multiple times. So, but what does that do for you, like in your future? Well, what I've found with prep, what I found with like the prep mind, is that people who go through prep kind of learn like how to be dedicated to a goal specifically. It's basically like a boot camp for you to be dedicated to the specific goal that you choose, and to see how far you can push yourself and how much you can endure before you kind of quit, you know? And if you make it to the end of the prep, because prep's not easy, you know, no matter how I go about prep, high calories, low cardio, is how many calories I can give someone, as low as calories I can give them, that's how we're gonna do it. But not everyone gets, you know, high calories, low cardio. No matter what, it's gonna be hard though, even in that scenario. But when you can dedicate yourself to a goal, like, and you say, hey, I wanna be the, whatever, CEO of this company, and you can actually dedicate yourself to it, like this is like a mini boot camp for you to find out, okay, every day I wake up with purpose. Every day I wake up knowing I have to do a task to get closer to my goal. And then every day I'm learning that discipline and dedication to accomplish that. And I feel like the lesson that you learn in prep, it doesn't just apply to just you getting abs one day on stage, but it applies to how you go about life every other day. And I think that's why me and you are so like hyper focused and so like how we're so productive with our days, is because we don't want to, like, we're just productive people in terms of not, because we're afraid of losing that time and wasting it on something, you know? So that's what I think. I don't know, if you're on the fence with prep, I think it's just such an awesome boot camp for you for life to just dedicate yourself to something, because it applies to so much more than just having abs for one day. It applies to just finding what you got inside of you, you know? Like, what are you having there? And so, you know, find out what you're made of. I just think it's so awesome. I love prep because of it. I'm pretty positive. I'm like almost sure that I wouldn't be where I'm at without prep, just because it like made me learn about myself and what I can pull out of me when I needed to, you know? So anyway, with that, guys, I guess we will leave you. So thank you so much for listening, and we'll talk to you next time.
Thanks for tuning in. Bye-bye.